Welcome back to UK Crownix, where we cut through the palace noise to bring you the truth. Today, we are going deep into a shocking move that has shaken the royal family. He is my son. King Charles goes against William to bring Harry back home. Let's break down what is really happening behind those palace walls. He is my son. With those 4 simple but powerful words, King Charles III has reportedly brought the British monarchy to a complete pause, standing against the firm decision of his heir, Prince William. Picture the moment behind the heavy wooden doors of Clarence House, a king facing his own mortality, a future king protecting the honor of the institution, and a father who just wants his child back. For 4 long years, the Atlantic Ocean has felt like a deep gap filled with silence and bitterness. But today, that gap is being crossed by a father's command that no royal rule can cancel. This is not only about a prince coming back to a palace. It is about a huge risk being taken for the very soul of the House of Windsor. Why is the king choosing this exact moment, during his hardest personal struggle, to risk breaking his relationship with William completely? What was written in the private letters that made a monarch cry? And most importantly, is this the start of healing, or have the seeds of a final and devastating family war just been planted? Stay with us as we slowly pull back the soft velvet curtain on what may be the most important royal change of this century. Because what you are about to hear changes everything we thought we knew about the future of the crown. The air in London feels heavy with expectation. And for the first time in a very long while, the quiet talk coming from inside palace walls is not about scandals or court cases, but about deep fatherly forgiveness. For a generation that watched these 2 princes grow from young boys walking behind a coffin into men leading a nation, this moment feels like the closing of a long chapter. But as we look closely at the details of this stunning revelation, we must ask ourselves a serious question. What is the cost of peace? The struggle between duty to the country and love for a child has reached its limit. Prince William, the man who will one day carry the heavy crown, now stands as the protector of a tradition he believes Harry has broken. Yet the king, looking toward the final years of his reign, is choosing a very different path for his legacy. This is the story of a divided throne, a family in deep trouble, and a father's final act of defiance. To truly understand how serious this moment is, we must look past the gold decorations and historic titles. At 75 years old, King Charles is living through the hardest period of his life. As he faces a fight with cancer, a diagnosis that removes all distractions and leaves only what truly matters, the king has been forced into deep thought. For a man who waited 73 years to serve his country, the truth of his time as king has been shaped by something he never expected, a broken relationship with his youngest son. In the quiet and respected halls of Sandringham, far away from flashing cameras and reporters, people close to the king describe a man who no longer wants anger to be the last thing he feels. The crown he wears stands for stability and the long life of an institution meant to appear strong and calm. But beneath that crown beats the heart of a father who remembers a young, playful Harry from long before books and TV interviews changed everything. King Charles understands better than anyone that the monarchy survives on steadiness. To many people, Harry's decision to leave was seen as a betrayal of that steadiness. Still, the king also knows how fragile life truly is. He has seen the deep damage that long family conflicts caused his own parents, Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip. He does not want to leave behind a story of division and pain. When he reportedly said, "He is my son," he was making a statement that went beyond politics and public image. It was an honest admission that even though he is the head of state and defender of tradition, his most important duty in his final years may be to repair his own family. This choice, however, puts him on a direct and never-before-seen path of conflict with the person he depends on most, Prince William. The king is trapped between the past and the future. On one side stand his heir, who represents a modern, controlled, and protective version of the monarchy. William's strong position comes from his need to protect his wife, Catherine, and their 3 children from the chaos that Harry's return could bring. On the other side, Charles feels the clock of history ticking louder each day. He knows that a House of Windsor fighting within itself cannot give hope or confidence to a nation. By reaching out to Harry, the king is walking a very fine line, trying to balance love, duty, and the future of the crown. He is trying to show that the monarchy is not a cold, uncaring system, but a family that can show one of the greatest human qualities, forgiveness. But do not be mistaken, this is a very lonely road for the king. In the strict and unbending world of royal rules, every small action is closely watched. Every offer of a private dinner or a stay at a royal home is treated like a careful political move. But for Charles, it seems to be much simpler than that. It is about a father who wants to hear his son's voice directly, without lawyers or media managers standing in between. It is about the understanding that when history books are written, his time as king will not be judged only by the laws he approved or the charities he supported, but by whether he had the courage to say enough to 10 years of pain and sadness. By going against the firm advice of his most trusted courtiers, King Charles is showing a new kind of power, the power of a father who refuses to lose his son a second time. While the king's heart may be softening across the neat green lawns near Adelaide Cottage, the feeling there is very different. To understand where the British monarchy is headed, we must understand the man who will wear the crown next. Prince William is no longer the sad young boy the world once cried for. He is now an experienced planner, a fiercely protective father, and a future king who views the institution he serves with deep and unbreakable loyalty. To William, the idea of Harry coming back is not a warm family moment. It is a serious strategic problem. Reports from people close to William suggest that his response to the king's outreach has been calm, distant, and carefully thought out. To him, the damage caused by the book spare and the repeated television interviews were not just hurtful on a personal level. They were direct attacks on the very structure of the crown itself. Viewers who have followed this family for many years know that William has always been the steady one. He was the brother who stayed behind to carry the weight while others chose a different direction. Now, as he watches his father extend forgiveness, William believes a dangerous example is being set. He remembers the long silence after the most harmful claims were made, and he remembers the visible strain on his wife, Catherine, as she dealt with the aftermath. To William, protecting the monarchy means protecting its respect and honor. And he strongly believes that this honor is weakened when those who publicly criticize the institution are welcomed back without facing serious public accountability. He is not simply being a stubborn or difficult brother. He sees himself as the first line of defense for a 1,000-year-old legacy that he feels is being exchanged for a brief moment of emotional peace. The strain between father and son, between the King and the Prince of Wales, has now become the most serious internal struggle the palace has faced in many generations. Imagine how heavy their private talks must be. On one side is a father asking for family unity as a final act of his life. On the other side is a son who believes that unity cannot come at the cost of principles and integrity. Sources say that William feels pushed aside by this sudden change in his father's direction. Over the past few years, he has worked hard to shape a new royal image based on service, stability, and calm behavior. Any return of the Sussexes, even in a small way, risks bringing drama back into the spotlight and undoing the careful work William and Catherine have done. We also have to consider the role of Catherine. For many viewers, especially older audiences in America, Princess Catherine is deeply respected. She is seen as a woman who has handled personal health struggles and public duties with a grace that reminds people of Queen Elizabeth herself. William is extremely protective of her. He believes that the stress of the last 4 years placed a heavy load on his wife, and he is reportedly unwilling to allow anything that could bring that stress back again. So when King Charles says, "He is my son," William's unspoken reply is, "And she is my wife, and this is our future." This is the solid wall that Harry would have to face if he ever hopes to return to royal life. It is a wall built from duty, unresolved anger, and a strong belief that some bridges, once burned, should never be rebuilt. William is thinking far ahead, 20 or 30 years into the future, to a time when he will be king himself. He is asking what kind of monarchy he will receive if the rules are changed for someone who chose to walk away. As the king continues to stand against his heir, the palace is becoming divided, not by hatred, but by two very different ideas of leadership. Is leadership about a father's mercy, or a king's discipline? The answer to that question will shape the next 10 years of the House of Windsor. In the quiet and secretive world of royal diplomacy, what the public usually sees is only the final surface of a very complex structure. While headlines focus on tension between the two brothers, a far more careful and sensitive effort has been unfolding quietly behind closed doors. For many months now, quiet messages have been moving back and forth between Montecito and London, going around the official offices of Kensington Palace. People close to the king say these were not formal meetings or planned talks, but instead a series of handwritten letters and very personal late-night phone calls. This was the kind of honest, emotional communication that only a father and son can have when no one else is watching. King Charles, a man who has always felt more comfortable expressing himself through writing, is said to have started this silent effort. For an older generation that believes a real letter carries more meaning than a cold digital message, this detail feels especially powerful. He reportedly sent Harry several private letters, not as a king giving commands, but as a father reaching out across a long and painful distance. These letters did not mention royal titles or security plans. Instead, they spoke about shared memories, warm summer days from the past, and the deep sadness they both still feel over the loss of Princess Diana. This was not political power at work, but emotional power. And this approach has left Prince William and his advisors feeling more and more shut out. To help make this possible, the king has quietly brought in a very small and extremely trusted group of peacemakers. Among them are said to be a few of his oldest friends, people who knew William and Harry as young boys and who have no political goals of their own. Their role is to carefully judge Harry's mindset. They are looking for real regret and a true willingness to accept a new role with clear limits. The aim of these secret talks is straightforward. The goal is to create a way for Harry to return without forcing either side to make a public apology, which would only create more embarrassment and attention. Instead, they want Harry to be able to attend family gatherings as a son, not necessarily as a working royal. However, the secrecy of this plan has its own dangers. When Prince William learned that these talks were happening without him knowing, the feeling of betrayal was very strong. To the future king, this feels like a break from the united front the family has tried to keep since Queen Elizabeth II passed away. William believes that by holding these secret talks, the king is allowing Harry to keep one foot inside royal life and one foot outside. There is a serious worry inside the palace that any private promises made by the king could later be used in future books, interviews, or media projects, causing even more harm to the monarchy's reputation. At the same time, very practical details are being carefully planned. Where would Harry live if he returned? How would his security be handled without angering taxpayers? These real-world problems are being discussed quietly inside the king's private study. One possible idea is to give Harry a permanent but private home on a royal estate. This would be a safe place where he could visit his father without cameras, reporters, or official royal duties. It would allow the king to meet his emotional need to see his son, while still keeping Harry at a distance from the daily work of the monarchy. For many people watching from America, especially those who have dealt with difficult family relationships themselves, the king's actions look thoughtful and understanding. But under the strict rules of the British constitutional system, this move is a very risky bet. The king is essentially choosing to believe that love can fix what rules and logic could not. He is betting that if Harry can return quietly, without drama, the world's attention will slowly move on. But as these private talks continue, the silence from Prince William's side is loud and troubling. The question now is not only whether Harry will come back, but whether the king's secret attempt at peace will cost him the trust of the man who will one day replace him. The risk has never been greater, and time is running out on an agreement that could either save the House of Windsor or break it forever. While major changes are happening within the British monarchy in London, thousands of miles away in the sunny community of Montecito, California, a different kind of tension is growing. For Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, the king's bold and emotional statement, "He is my son," has created a deep and unexpected problem. For the past 4 years, the Sussexes have built a public identity around independence, freedom from royal control, and the ability to speak openly about their experiences. But the king's offer of a path back into the family is more than just a loving gesture. It directly challenges the foundation of the new life they have worked so hard to build in America. For Harry, this problem is deeply personal and emotional. Imagine the mental weight of being pushed out of the only life you have ever known, and then suddenly having the door opened again by a father who is now facing his own illness and the reality of death. People close to the couple say Harry feels torn in two. On one side, life in America has given him privacy and freedom he never had in the United Kingdom. He has a beautiful home, a growing group of powerful friends, and the ability to raise his children, Archie and Lilibet, far away from the harsh spotlight of the British tabloids. He can live without cameras following his every move. But as anyone over the age of 50 understands, the pull of your roots grows stronger with time. Knowing that his father is unwell, and realizing that his children are growing up disconnected from their royal background, weighs heavily on Harry's heart. This awareness is not easy for him to ignore. The king's invitation puts Harry in a classic catch-22. If he accepts the offer and rebuilds a closer relationship with the royal family, he risks damaging the story of escape that has driven much of his success in America. His Netflix projects, book deals, and speaking events all depend, in some way, on his image as the royal who walked away. Returning now could look like backing down, a sign that the freedom he fought for was not enough. But if he refuses a father's wish for peace during what may be his final chapter, that decision could haunt him for the rest of his life. This is not a simple choice. It is a painful struggle between his public career and his private conscience. Then there is the Meghan factor. For the Duchess of Sussex, the risks are just as serious, though they may point in a different direction. Meghan has built a strong identity in America as an independent and influential woman. She has launched lifestyle projects and focused on global causes that matter to her. For her, even a quiet return to the United Kingdom means going back to a place where she felt unsupported, judged, and unwanted. Many in the American audience, who have largely supported her journey, are watching closely. They want to see whether she will support Harry's need to heal his family ties or remain the strong barrier between him and the House of Windsor. Meghan's struggle is whether she can trust a family she believes caused her deep emotional pain, even if that family is now guided by a king desperate to make peace. We also have to face the hard truth about the Sussex brand. In the United States, staying relevant is everything. As long as Harry and Meghan remain in conflict with the royal family, they stay at the center of global attention. If they make peace and become just another distant branch of the royal family, their influence and star power could slowly fade. This is the harsh but realistic calculation their advisors are likely making in private. They are walking a narrow path where one wrong step could push away their American supporters or permanently damage their connection to the British crown. In the end, the King's decision to stand against William places the responsibility directly on Harry. He can no longer say the system is blocking him if the King himself is asking him to come home. The silence coming from Montecito in recent weeks suggests a couple thinking deeply and carefully. They are measuring pride against peace. For Harry, the question is simple, yet heartbreaking. Is the freedom he found in California worth missing his father's final chapter? As he looks across the Pacific Ocean, the distance to England feels smaller than ever, and the choice feels heavier than it ever has. The world is watching a high-risk chess match where the board is built from 1,000 years of tradition, and the pieces are members of a family in crisis. As King Charles III works to bring Prince Harry back into the family, we must think about what this means for the future of the British monarchy. Is this a moment of deep healing that will make the institution stronger? Or is it a hidden danger that could eventually cause it to fall apart? For the generation that remembers the steady dignity of Queen Elizabeth II, the idea of a divided royal family is more than gossip. It raises questions about national and global stability. Let us first look at the possibility of healing. In this version of events, King Charles succeeds in welcoming his son back as a private individual. By doing this, he makes the monarchy feel more human. He shows that the crown can change, and that even the most public and painful conflicts can be repaired with patience and forgiveness. For modern audiences, this could be a powerful moment. It would present the king as a kind and understanding father, and Harry as a son who has learned to respect where he came from. This image of unity would quiet critics who say the royal family is cold, broken, and stuck in the past. It would allow the monarchy to move forward into the new Carolean era with a feeling of closure, making sure that when Prince William finally becomes king, he does so without the shadow of an exiled brother hanging over his coronation. This would give the future reign a cleaner start and a sense that unfinished family business had been resolved. However, there is a much darker and more skeptical outcome that many royal insiders quietly fear. This is the idea of an internal collapse. This view, mostly shared by those close to Prince William, suggests that bringing Harry back is like letting a virus into a carefully protected system. The worry is that the Sussex brand, which is built around personal feelings, openness, and public storytelling, clashes directly with the royal brand, which is built on duty, silence, and personal sacrifice. If Harry is welcomed back without a clear and public promise to follow the core values of the monarchy, it could create two different sets of rules. This would upset loyal palace staff and members of the British public who stayed, served, and followed tradition while Harry chose a different path. To many people, it would send a dangerous message that royal rules can be bent or ignored. And once the rules start to feel flexible, the mystery and authority of the crown slowly begin to fade away. We must also think about the effect this could have on the Commonwealth. For many countries within this global group, the British monarchy stands as a symbol of stability and continuity. A public and awkward reconciliation, or worse, one that fails, could strengthen republican movements around the world. These groups might argue that if the royal family cannot manage its own problems with grace and dignity, then it has no right to serve as a symbolic leader for 56 very different nations. King Charles's decision to go against William is a gamble. He is betting that the world will see his mercy as a sign of strength, not weakness. But inside the halls of power, from London to Canberra, there is a quiet fear that this choice could set off a chain reaction of instability that cannot be controlled. The role of Prince William in what comes next is extremely important. As he prepares to one day become king, he is watching his father's actions very carefully and with great caution. If Harry's return leads to new media leaks or fresh scandals, the divide between the king and his heir will only grow wider. This break between the current king and the future king may be the greatest danger of all. A monarchy cannot survive if its leadership is being pulled in opposite directions. One side driven by emotional healing, and the other driven by the need to protect the institution at all costs. Looking ahead to the next 10 years, Harry's presence in London would change how the monarchy is seen by the public. Would he stand on the Buckingham Palace balcony? Would he represent the king at events overseas? Every one of these decisions carries risk. Each choice could easily spark controversy or backlash. For King Charles, the answer feels simple. He is my son. To him, that truth outweighs everything else. But for the monarchy as an institution, the answer cannot be that simple. Its survival depends on finding a balance between being a family and being a firm. If Charles succeeds, he may heal his family and strengthen the crown. But if he fails, he may have unknowingly started the countdown to the end of the monarchy itself. The consequences are no longer just personal. They are deeply historical. In the quiet hours of a London evening, as fog drifts off the Thames and wraps around the ancient walls of Buckingham Palace, the weight of 1,000 years of history rests on one man's shoulders. King Charles III is no longer just a ruler protecting a throne. He is a father protecting a hope. By breaking through the careful defences built by Prince William to welcome Harry back, he has reminded the world that even inside the most rigid institutions, the human heart still holds the greatest power. We began this story with 4 simple words. He is my son. Those words now stand like a bridge over troubled waters. They are a bold challenge to the cold machinery of royal rules. But as we have seen, this bridge is fragile. The road ahead is full of risk, possible heartbreak, quiet rumours, and perhaps the greatest test the British monarchy has faced in modern times. The king has made his decision, choosing the importance of family over the safety that comes with silence. Now, the attention of history shifts to the 2 brothers. Will William be able to trust the father he serves, or will this act of defiance create a lasting break in the line of succession? And will Harry, sitting quietly in his home in California, understand that this offer of peace may be the final and most meaningful gift his father can give him? For those of us who have followed this family through moments of joy and moments of deep pain, this moment feels different from all the others. It feels honest. It feels dangerous. And it feels deeply human. It reminds us that no matter what titles we carry or what history we inherit, we are ultimately judged by how we treat the people we love when life is at its hardest. The king has prepared the stage for a powerful reconciliation, but the final chapter has not yet been written. The ending now rests in the hands of others. We want to hear from you. In this conflict between a father's forgiveness and a future king's responsibility, where do you stand? Is Charles right to choose forgiveness, or is William right to protect the crown no matter the cost? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one as we move through these historic moments together. If you found this discussion thoughtful and meaningful, please subscribe and become part of our community as we continue to look deeper into the world's most famous family. Thank you for watching, and may we all find the strength to choose family when that choice is placed before us.